Welcome to Mental Health Through Will Training by Abraham A. Lowe. This is Part 2, Chapter 10, Genuine Feeling and Sincere Thinking. Clara, in the course of a panel discussion on sabotaging sleep, commented on her difficulties of sleeping, which she experienced prior to her recovery training. I would awaken from a nightmare. I was shaking and sweating, and my heart pounded, and I felt as if nothing in the room looked familiar. I was sure I was dying. The first thought I had was to awaken my husband and ask him to hold my hands. There was no rest for me. I felt scared and I was waiting for something awful to happen. Today, when I awaken at night, I instantly know that my sensations are not dangerous. I wait, and though I am not comfortable, I lie still in bed and do not think of waking my husband. In a short time, I fall asleep again. When Clara was sure she was dying, she asked her husband to hold her hands. Then she waited for that something awful to happen. But it would seem that if death threatens, it would be wiser to summon a physician and engage in the serene practice of holding hands. From this, I conclude that Clara was not at all sure she was dying. Indeed, the inference is inescapable that she was sure she was dying. You may question the propriety of casting doubt on Clara's account. Is Clara a liar? Assuredly she is not. A liar deceives others. What Clara did was deceive herself. She believed something which, judged by the standards of genuine experience, is impossible. She thought for sure she was dying, but she did not experience the fear of death. Clara spoke of a nightmare, of shaking and sweating. The, the look of things had changed, and she was scared. All of this points to unmistakably to fear. And if I stated that she did not experience the fear of death, what kind of feeling was it that produced all these frightening reactions? It certainly was a fear of and most intense at that. Why do I refuse to call it the fear of death? I told you that Clara, with the certainty of death in her mind, asked her husband to hold her hands. Suppose a baby is seriously ill and the mother makes ready to go to a dance. You will conclude that this mother has strong feelings for dancing, but none or very dull ones for the fate of her child. How did you arrive at your conclusion? You observed an act, the mother preparing for a dance, and gathered that a feeling for a baby's fate was weak or missing. The point I wish to make is that a given act may or may not fit into the pattern of its underlying feelings, or acts and feelings may or may not match. Clara's act of holding hands was not properly matched with her professed feelings of fearing death. An act expresses a feeling and a thought at the same time. The act of tending the baby, for instance, expresses a mother's feeling of love and also her thought of what the baby needs and what is best for it. In the combination, the feelings and thoughts are the inner experience, and the acts are the outer expression. If an act expresses a feeling in its true and real significance, then the meaning of the act matches the meaning of the feeling. If the matching is thorough, we say that the outer act gave genuine expression to inner feeling. This is different with thoughts. They are not judged from the viewpoint of genuineness. Instead, they are considered as either sincere or lacking sincerity. If an act really and truly matches the meaning of the inner thought, the expression is said to be sincere. If act and thought fail to match, the expression is insincere. When Clara, awakening with what she calls the terror of death, roused her husband and to hold her hands, did not act of behavior express did her act of behavior express genuine and sincere thought? Did her outer act match her inner experience? A mother craving amusement while her baby is sick may feel some sort of affection for her suffering offspring. But her act of going to the dance does not match the feeling of motherly love. It matches another feeling, namely the feeling of boredom and the love of excitement. If while preparing for the outside engagement she explains in so many words that, after all, a reach a competent nurse is in attendance and a physician is within easy reach, her act of speech expresses an insincere thought. That thought is not focused on the welfare of the baby. It is merely offered as a face-saving excuse for an inexcusable neglect. The inner experience and outer expression mismatch. The feeling lacks genuineness. The thought bears the mark of insincerity. The real meaning of Clara's behavior ought to be clear by now. The feeling of approaching death, if genuine, can only be matched by a life-saving act. For instance, an emergency call to a physician or an instant rush to a hospital. Holding hands is not such life-saving performance. All it can be reasonably expected to give is comfort. If what Clara craved was to be comforted, her feelings must have been that of discomfort, perhaps a very intense and torturing sort of discomfort. Even if you add that she feared not to be able to stand up under the terrific strain, or if you add further that the harrowing vision of a night of never-ending torment caused an almost unbearable fear. Nevertheless, the feeling was that of discomfort, nothing else. It was not a genuine feeling of threatening death. That Clara was sure she was dying contributes nothing to the situation. Feeling and act were decidedly mismatched. Was her thought of death sincere? Well, I have no record of what she expressed in her words about the kind of thought which dominated her brain at the time, but it would be easy to reconstruct her thinking processes on the basis of experience with a multitude of patients in similar pseudo-emergencies. Their first thought was that the husband will again refuse to believe their protestations, and that the reality of their agony would be doubted, that their anxious outcry will not be taken seriously. But with a sincere thought of impending death, the only consideration that will match the inner experience is the necessity for securing instant help and not the desire to be believed. No doubt, Clara's feeling of death approaching was not genuine. Her thought of life ebbing away was not sincere. Feelings lacking the mark of genuineness and thoughts devoid of the touch of sincerity are the commonest features in the lives of average individuals who, being just plain average, are neither leaders nor saints nor heroes. Lack of genuineness and sincerity are indeed the warp and woof of daily existence. And if Clara is frequently insincere in her chats with neighbors and in her dealings with the tradespeople, yet following common patterns, she displays little genuineness in her devotion to civic virtues and social obligations. She is just average with all the failings and deficiencies characteristic of average endeavors. But Clara is a nervous patient, endowed with a nervous system that is unduly sensitive to tenseness, and if she practices insincerity and lack of genuineness with regard to her symptoms, she will misinterpret discomfort as meaning danger, and the result will be panics and vicious cycles. With reference to his symptoms, a nervous patient must be genuine in feeling and sincere in thought. In order to practice a suitable degree of genuineness and sincerity, patients must be made to know that the inner experiences, if applied to symptoms, are woefully lacking these qualities. To know one's inner experiences means to gain insight, and insight requires spotting. The very moment the feeling of fear stirs in his body and the corresponding thought of danger rises in his brain, the patient must instantly spot the condition as one of severe discomfort with no danger attached. Continuous spotting disposes of insincerity and lack of genuineness. What Clara demonstrated, and demonstrated with singular force, was that after a relatively brief training period in recovery, She is now able to spot her frightening inner experiences as being nothing but silly emotionalisms or inane rationalizations. Having acquired these insights, she is in the position to redirect her acts to match them properly with her experiences. When she said, "Today, when I awaken at night, I instantly know that my sensations are not dangerous," she merely indicated that she masters the techniques of spotting, and that her outer acts are now well matched to the meaning of her inner experiences. Thank you. That's it for today. Next time we're going to do Chapter 11, Group Mindedness and Self-Mindedness. Thank you for joining me.